Welcome back, guys, to another episode here on the Locker Room Vibes. This is Inside FPL segment. Charlie, we are glad to have you. Before we do get into it in this video, I'm just going to have a preview of what game week 17 is going to look like. Some players you could easily have and who you should consider having as a captaincy. So before we do get into it, I would like you to kindly hit that subscribe button. Let's know your thoughts. Share your thoughts. Let's know who you also captain, who your captaincy goes to head into game week 7. Let's get interactive as we build this channel together. All right, so as I said, game week 7 is almost here, and I know as FPL managers, most of us are getting our teams ready. Some would want to wait till last minute, others too are already done. So whichever ways, just know that game week 7 is almost here. So first of all, we'll just go through the fixtures. Let's see how the matches are coming in for game week 17. So game week 17 starts on Saturday. We have an early kickoff. So it means you want to get your teams done before that early kickoff match, which is going to take there's going to be between Newcastle United and Chelsea, then followed by Bournemouth. They take on Burnley. Then we have Brighton taking on Sunderland, Manchester City taking on West Ham United, Wolves taking on Brentford. Then we have Spurs taking on Liverpool. Then Everton, Arsenal. Then Leeds, Crystal Palace ends that is a match for the last round for Saturday. Then on Sunday we have Aston Villa. They take on Manchester United, just that one game for the day. Then on Monday we have Fulham. They take on Nottingham Forest. That is also a single game for the day. So that is how it's looking for the fixtures. We have some interesting fixtures in there where we have Spurs taking on Liverpool. We also have some very good matches which could provide a lot of returns for some managers. That is the City v West Ham match. We're hoping for a whole lot of returns. So if you have some City players, you should be smiling because there's a home match. City are in good form against this West Ham team that were already struggling, that have lost quite a few players who are leaving for AFCON. So it's going to be a new West Ham team trying to figure things out against an already on form City team. So we are hoping for the best. So if you don't have some City players, do look in there and pick one or two and you should be okay. We also have it could be an interesting match, and Everton taking on Arsenal are in good form. They struggled last week against Wolves. That was a new manager. We hope that was Wolves, so we hope to see how things go on between Everton and Arsenal. It could be an interesting match too as well. As Arsenal are in good form as usual, they've been the whole season, so we hope for the best. So you could also get some good returns from that match as well. Then on Monday, we are hoping for the best because from what I observed over some few game weeks, Nottingham Forest tend to struggle when they travel or when they are away. They tend to struggle, and this they have taken on a Fulham team that are that have some players in form, given their returns here and there. So you could also consider that heading into the game weekend. We have quite some few Bournemouth, Burnley, some few good matches in there. So just look at the FDL. Let's just see how it looks. If you are not too sure, you could just use the FDL to see how the matches are looking heading into the game week. So Arsenal have quite an okay match. So based on the index, I've explained it already some time back in my previous videos. So deep green 1, when it's light green it's 2, which is quite good. Medium would be gray, that is the 3. Then light red would be 4, or red was 4. Then we have deep red being 5. So that's how it's looking for that one. So you'd want to also consider that heading into the game week. So Arsenal have a grey, they have a 3. Aston Villa have a 3. So Aston Villa in good form. They took on Manchester United team that just lost some players to AFCON. So it could go either ways. Aston Villa in good form, so you'd also want to look at that. Bournemouth have some players in form. You have Semenyo who has given returns over the past 2 game weeks. So let's see how that goes against this Burnley team. They take on Burnley at home. So Burnley Aston Villa at home and Burnley away. So let's see how that goes. Brentford take on Wolves. Wolves have a new manager, so it could be new philosophy, but let's see how that goes as well. Brighton and Sunderland, it could go either ways, I believe, because both Sunderland has proven to be very solid this team, but Brighton too are struggling here and there, getting the results once, twice, in and out. So we'll see how that goes. As I've said, Burnley already taking on Bournemouth. So Chelsea take on Newcastle. So this could be an interesting game. So you want to be very diplomatic with your selection here. If you want to go for a player, you could easily go for a Cole Palmer who is in good form. And with the kind of form Chelsea are in and the kind of setup they have, you could look at Reece James if you just want to be quite diplomatic, not just being diplomatic. You want to be very structured with your selection. Then Crystal Palace take on Leeds United. Crystal Palace have proven themselves to be quite um, they've not had too many good performances, but they are still above waters, getting things done here and there. They've struggled a little bit. They have one of their key players out. Munez, the right back, is out with an injury. So let's see how that goes. But they've had some good performances here and there. I'm believing Mateta to regain his form. As usual, as I say this, for the first half, I'm just focusing on differentials. For some players, most managers wouldn't have. I would get them and see how they also fare in my team. Then we have Everton taking on Arsenal. I've said it already. Try to get some Arsenal players, of course, because they are in good form against this Everton team. So let's see how that goes. Fulham, Nottingham Forest. It could be a very interesting game for Fulham. It could also go either ways. It could be a draw, but Fulham have the upper hand. So Harry Wilson for the past 3 game weeks has provided the return. So you could easily go for Harry Wilson, who seems to have gotten or found his feet just giving the returns to managers. So you could keep your faith in him before probably he goes, he resets. That is one thing about the EPL before things go back to normal. But he's in good form, taking on set pieces, taking on so the corners, free kicks. He's the man behind it. He's providing a lot of assists down the right side. He's everywhere. So you'd want to consider him. It's left or right, so you'd want to consider him. He's in good form. So I've spoken about Leeds, Liverpool, Tottenham. Liverpool have kind of found things, figured things out. I think now with Salah leaving for Afcon, there's that space there for a different player to fill. We have Gapo injured, which means you'd have both Higo and Isaac playing with the formation that the lineup that the manager mostly has. So he's going to play Isaac, then he's going to also play Higo, which could be a plus. So you could get any of them with Isaac on the field. It gives Higo quite a little space to also explore, and that could also be a plus for any of these players if you should have them. City take on this West Ham team that I've spoken about it. So you could easily get City players. I wouldn't really emphasize on any because the whole team is good, but the main ones that most managers are looking at, you have Phil Foden, you have Haaland. These are the top targets. You could have a Jeremy Doku as a very confident differential. If you want to place all your confidence, you could have him as a differential. You have O'Reilly in there as well, so and Nunez. So these three players as differentials just to keep things going. and you're Foden, Haaland, you could have any of them or both. So I've spoken Aston Villa, Manchester United. We've spoken about that as well. So you could get Rogers from Aston Villa. You could get a Bruno Fernandes. So these players are providing or in the past game weeks have provided the returns for managers. So you could easily get them. Spoken about Nottingham, then Fulham. We've spoken about Spurs, Liverpool, Sunderland, Brighton. We've done that. So we've spoken about the rest. So that is how it's looking for the FDR. So for the player stats, I'm just going to emphasize on some few players. So we have Haaland. So players and form you'd want to go through to see which players are in good form. So you have Foden leading the charts. You have Bruno Fernandes. You have Wilson, Rogers. You have Dewsbury Hall. You have Chaloba. You have Haaland. You have Bruno Gameres. You have Calvin Lewin. So these are the players, some of the players in form. As I say, if you are not too sure who to go for, three options that you look for when it comes to player stats. You could look at player form, you could look out for most selected, and could look out for the most transferred in. So for creativity, influence, threat, you just add them as a plus to get your team set and get things done. But so these are the players in form. If they are in form, then you should know they are doing something right. So if they are in form, you want to look at the most selected. If most managers are going for them, I believe they've seen something which is also going to be a plus. As I always say, it's always good to have a differential. So in case the most selected players they blank, you would have a differential who could easily help you out. So just don't go for any differential, but have a differential who would has a prospect of providing the return. So you have Haaland leading the charts for most selected, followed by Semenyo. You have Thiago in the mix thereabouts. You have Foden. You have Timber. You have Bruno Fernandes. Let's know how many of these players you have. You should at least have two or three of these players, and you should be good to go. So let's look at the most transferred in. So most transferred in, of course, I mentioned Wilson. He's leading the chart. You have Higo, you have Foden, you have Bruno Fernandes, you have Rogers, Chaloba, Semenyo, and quite some other players. So goes to show that most players have their eyes on them based on the fixtures, based on their past returns, based on their form. So it goes to tell you that something is right there. So you could look at any of them. All right. So for the most important or for the important side for most managers, the team review. Some managers would want to also see how I'm setting up. So for my team for game week 17, this is how I'm setting up. And note, as I've said, after game week 19, you would be losing your chips. So if you've not used your chips, start using them now. So you could go ahead before you lose all your chips. So you have about 3 game weeks from now till 19 that you could take advantage and use at least three out of your four. That is if you've not used any, and you should be good to go. So I have my triple captain active. I've played my wild card, I've played my bench boost. So I have triple captain and free hit. So I'm going to be using my triple captain this week. And I think game week 19, I use my free hit. So triple captain, this is my team. I have Raya, I have O'Reilly, Senese, Timber. That is for goalkeeper and defense. For midfield, I have Foden, Wilson, Saka, Rogers. That is how my midfield is looking. Then for the forward, I have Hiko, I have Thiago, I have Mateta. I've brought Mateta in just to I'm keep raising my faith in him, believing that he should provide the goods. Then I have Thiago, they take on Wolves, so I'm hoping for the best. Higo takes on Tottenham Hotspur, so we hope for the best. And I've been contemplating a lot who to captain, either Foden or Wilson, but I'm giving it to Foden because they have a home match, and hopefully he should be in the mix thereabouts. Fulham also have a home match against Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest have proven to be quite. They've won at least they've won quite a few games in their past 3 or 4 matches. So I'm still contemplating who to give to, but I ended up giving it to Foden. Let's see how it goes. Whether he will be able to provide the returns for me massively. So that is how my team is looking heading into game week 17. So you could have any of this, if any of these players. If you have other players, you could also consider having Haaland as your captain. If you have him, you just give him the captain. There's a home match and you expect him to provide the returns. So if you want differentials, you could easily look at a Saka from Arsenal or folded. That is if you don't have Haaland in your team, or if you have him and you just want a differential, and you have Saka, you have Foden or Wilson. Any of these would be a good selection for you. So Wilson, Foden, Saka are my differentials for this week. And the captaincy, you could most definitely give it to Haaland, and you should be smiling. And O'Reilly would be your wild card differential. I considered him, but I just wanted something different, so I focused on Foden. But O'Reilly could be your differential captaincy choice, and I hope for the best. Let's see how Gameweek 17 goes. Kindly subscribe, share this video. Let's build a channel together, and we hope for green.